One of the greatest parts about John Mayer's solo tour is all of these deep cuts that are being performed as a kind of a result of what this tour is. John just going out and performing and connecting with the crowd. Now, these deep cuts coming out of, the vault pretty much is either a result of John just deciding, you know what, I haven't performed this song in a while, let's add it to the set list tonight and see what the reception is like when I perform it, just because it's him up there on stage by himself. He can change the set list at any moment and play whatever he wants to without having to tell the band and make sure everyone is aware of what's going on. And the other way all of these deep cuts are being performed, which is just overall such a really great thing and aspect of this tour, is that fans will have sign requests and they will ask for different songs. And since that started coming a thing the first few shows of the first leg of the solo tour, John now has kind of dedicated the middle part of his set list to just looking out the crowd and seeing what people are requesting, and then he'll perform a couple of those before moving on with the rest of the set list that he had written out. Just a really great component to the solo tour overall, and I thought today's video would be a great time to highlight 5 really awesome deep cuts that I think a lot of us weren't expecting John to perform on the solo tour, especially with a lot of them now coming out during this second leg of the solo tour in the United States in the month of October at the time of me making this video. Now, before we get into this list that I have come up with, your list of really great deep cuts might be different from mine. I have done 2 separate videos dedicated to Bigger Than My Body, which was at the show in Vancouver that I saw the first time John had performed part of that song in over a decade, as well as a video dedicated to Another Kind of Green being performed again, just again, a little snippet of it, but nonetheless really awesome to see John attempting to perform these songs he hasn't performed in so long. So that's why neither of those songs are on today's list. They have their own video on the channel. If you haven't seen them, I highly encourage you go and check them out. War of My Life is our very first deep cut I'd like to highlight, and mainly because chronologically speaking for our list today, it's the very first one on the solo tour that John kind of started performing again. Now, War of My Life was only ever performed during the Battle Studies era and tour, 2009 and 2010. And once that era had passed, that song was back in the vault, and John just had not performed it again at all. But on March 18th in Pittsburgh, John performed War of My Life again for the very first time outside of the Battle Studies era.
I had my own memories of what it was like to make this song, and sort of colored how I felt about the song, but when I years later went back and started playing it, I went, I kind of feel this way still. And those are good songs when you still kind of feel it.
Come out, angel, come out, ghost, come out, darkness, bring everyone you know. I'm not running, and I'm not scared, I am waiting, and we're prepared.
Now, John performing War of My Life on March 18th in Pittsburgh wasn't as a result of a fan sign request. It was actually more of a result of him going back and listening to his old catalog and realizing that he had some connections to some songs he really never performed anymore, but that he had wrote because he felt a certain way at that time. And War of My Life was the very third song he performed that night, so not up until the point of any fan sign requests becoming a part of that evening. However, the most recent time we've had War of My Life being performed, and it's performed a couple more times since that March 18th performance, was as a result of a fan sign request on October 11th in Nashville during the second leg of the solo tour. Badge and Gun is our second deep cut. Now, this is a song that I could have sworn John had performed a bunch of times during the Born and Raised in Paradise Valley era. However, I'd be actually incorrect in thinking that John never performed the song during that time frame of 2013 and 2014 in support of both of those albums. The only time John has ever actually performed Badge and Gun outside of obviously the solo tour was on April 1st in 2019 in Singapore. That's the only time he had ever performed this song, which is a really crazy fact to me. Now, when it came to the solo tour performance in Chicago on October 18th, John was caught off guard, he says, by seeing a sign request for Badge and Gun, and he mentions how this was a song that he'd been really wanting to play. However, it was his dear friend Bob Saget's song, who obviously is no longer with us and had tragically passed away. So for him, obviously this is a very emotional song for him to perform, and one that's probably been on his mind quite a lot, as knowing it's Bob's favorite song of his, and him wanting to probably try and perform it for Bob, but then there's all those emotions that come up when you do it, and maybe with the healing process he wasn't quite ready, but seeing someone request it and John being in the mood he said, you know what, I'm going to perform it for you all, and it was just a very emotional and a very beautiful tribute to Bob Saget.
It's the first time I've seen this song on a sign, and this is a song I've wanted to play. Oh, now what do you think, Jeff? And it's hard to play because it was my dear friend Bob Saget's favorite song. And so I thought about playing it, and I go, I don't know if I can, I don't know if I can, but you caught me off guard, which is good, and I'm going to play this song, which is Bob's favorite song, and it's dedicated to Bob.
Give me my badge and gun. Give me the road that I make. Give me that peaceful wandering free I used to know.
And hopefully for John, as he's going through the healing process of losing a very dear friend, maybe performing Badge and Gun for the very first time can help relieve some of the anxiousness, anxiety, maybe reservations he was having about this song, because from what he said, it's clearly been on his mind, knowing that it was Bob's favorite song, and it was something that he probably was thinking about wanting to perform, but it's one of those things where sometimes you think about it and then it's just sad. So hopefully for John, getting the first performance of Badge and Gun since Bob's passing, the second time ever he's even performed that song, out of the way kind of can help him through the healing process, and I can see that becoming just a really beautiful tribute now going forward to Bob. Every time John performs that song, it's kind of got a new meaning for him as well.
The life I need to lead is somewhere out there calling over those hills.
Thank you for requesting this. I'm happy to.
Hummingbird is our third deep cut, and this song shares a lot of similarities to In Your Atmosphere. The only real difference between Hummingbird and In Your Atmosphere is that In Your Atmosphere, because it was performed during Where the Light Is, really shot up into being a lot of people's favorite songs of John's and in popularity. Therefore, John would perform that song a lot throughout his career. However, Hummingbird, while it was performed a lot in the early 2000s, just like In Your Atmosphere, it kind of fell out of fashion almost permanently, and outside of 2004, John only played that song, I believe, 2 times, and the last time he had performed it until the solo tour was on December 6th of 2008 in Los Angeles at the Nokia Theater, the exact same place he shot Where the Light Is just over 1 year later.
That song I heard, that's my hummingbird. Just because I said I didn't want her doesn't mean I want her to go.
And in Tampa Bay, Florida on October 13th, we got a portion of Hummingbird before John transitioned into performing Daughters. That being, of course, the very first time we had heard that song in well over a decade since that December 6th performance in 2008. And maybe this snippet of Hummingbird will transition into John actually relearning the very full song and performing it maybe one day on one of the upcoming shows for the solo tour.
I know apps like that. I can do it. I can do it.
Once upon almost every morning, I woke up to find you flying. Hummingbird was taking loose, you were into purple in the air. All the while, I was trying to keep it in. Not man enough to me, but man enough to always care. Hummingbird, hummingbird, that's so high. That's my hummingbird.
All We Ever Do Is Say Goodbye is our fourth deep cut, and this song shares a lot of similarities with War of My Life, as in it was only ever performed during the Battle Studies era. Then once that era ended, just like War of My Life, John never performed it again. Except this song was actually a fan sign request on October 11th in Nashville. It's kind of a weird song request in my mind. All We Ever Do Is Say Goodbye is definitely not one of the highlights in John's catalog as far as deep cuts go, in my opinion, but hey, everyone loves different songs of John's for their own reasons, and I'm just very happy that the person who requested that song to be performed actually got to hear it performed by their request.
I'm so sorry. I don't have it.
Say you wanna strike it, but I don't have it. Tried everything but give it. Why you wanna break my heart again? Why am I gonna let you try when all we ever do is say goodbye? Oh, all we ever do is say goodbye.
And a few shows later, John would actually add All We Ever Do Is Say Goodbye to his set list on his own accord for the October 17th performance in Indianapolis. And this is a really great example of John taking one of these deep cuts that he hasn't performed in a very long time, kind of learning it a little bit on the fly while he performs it as a song request, then adding it actually into the set list, and obviously between those shows, kind of relearning it and just polishing up so he can perform it to its fullest extent live for the people during that performance.
Oh, they're coming. They're coming. This is my sit-down 4-song deep cut run. Although slow dancing in a running room is nice.
Just when I had you off my head, your voice comes flashing wildly through my quiet bed. You say you wanna try again, but I tried everything but giving.
Comfortable is our fifth and final deep cut, and just to show you guys how deep some of these tracks we've discussed in today's video are, Comfortable is the song that John has performed the most by an absolute landslide than any of these other songs we've talked about. And this is kind of a bit of an obvious thing perhaps, because Comfortable was performed quite a lot as a regular part of John's set list early on in his career in 2002, 2003, and 2004. However, if you take performances of Comfortable from outside of 2002 to 2004, it still has been performed more than any of the other songs we've talked about today, which is kind of a crazy fact. Now, the last time we have heard anything that remotely resembles Comfortable was during the Sob Rock tour in 2022 on April 1st in Austin, Texas. After Free Falling, John performed just a few passes of the main guitar line of Comfortable, which I'm sure was a major tease for a lot of people who that song is their favorite of John's.
David Bryan, please. I gotta go on other songs, but I see these.
Fast forward to the solo tour, and in Hollywood, Florida on September 28th, John performed Comfortable as a result of a fan sign request.
If you had to,
And since that fan sign request, we've had it performed 2 more times. So hopefully for a lot of you guys, this is one song that John will go in as well, kind of add back into maybe a rotating portion of a set list that it might get added one show here, one show there, but one he'll perform a little bit more as a result of that initial fan sign request. I personally am a really big fan of John's solo tour. The whole kind of structure and way these performances go, I think is just really special and unlike anything we've really ever seen from John. The fact that he can come out just himself and perform to a stadium full of people is really amazing, but he still makes it feel like it's a smaller show, the way he has all the different banter, connecting with the crowd, and the shows aren't perfect as a result. It doesn't flow like a normal show you would expect to, like if John performed with the full band. However, he's relaxed, he's talking with the crowd, he's taking these risks in performing songs he hasn't performed in over 10 years at some points, but just is having fun with everyone, and it makes for a very unique atmosphere. And the solo tour performance that I saw, the show that I saw, will go down as one of my favorite shows of all time. I just know it. And if you guys haven't seen John on the solo tour, I highly encourage you to go out and see him if you can. These shows have been really special, and getting to hear some songs that you might not hear again for another 10 years maybe. It's just very special as well. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this kind of rundown of 5 really awesome deep cuts that John's been performing on this tour. Like I said, the second leg really has opened up a lot more deep cuts, and I think just as the tour goes on and even the shows in Europe, we'll just hear even more deep cuts come out, and I'm super excited for that. If there are any ones that I didn't mention in this video, let me know your thoughts down below that you think you just were really happy to see other deep cuts performed also. And if there are any ones you hope John does perform, let me know in the comments down below, and maybe some more chatter online about these songs might convince John to actually perform them again. So everyone, thank you so much for watching today's video. Take care, and we'll see you on the next one.
Anyway, go ahead and click the subscribe button if you like what you see.